February has been quite a busy month here at Voiceover, and also a lot has happened in the ecosystem. So there's time for some selected highlights and news all around your favorite tools, namely Vite, Vitest, Rolldown and OXC, and of course all about the community. If you want to read the whole recap, then make sure to check out our blog. A link to the post is down below as usual. If you don't want to miss out these things, then join our newsletter so you get them all straight into your inbox. But now to the highlights. Vite. Did you know that Vite has a plugin registry now? It will list all kind of rollup, rolldown and Vite plugins and will also show their compatibility with different versions and if you actually still need them in your setup. And here you can find plugins that are published by the Vite team, for example, the React plugin, by the rollup team like plugin node resolve, and also by the rolldown team and from anyone else, because there are a lot of great community plugins that can be surfaced like that. You can also put down your dependency constraints. So if you say, okay, this has to support Vite 7 at least, then we are here good to go and we will see only plugins that work with Vite 7. If you say like, okay, Vite 2.0.0, that's the way. Yes, we also have these available. They still exist. Nevertheless, for all of them, to best knowledge based on the package JSON, this is shown. And if your plugin should show up there, then follow the guide to add it. It's pretty simple. We just need a few keywords to detect them. And of course, if you want to, you can also search for plugins. So let's remove the Vite constraints here and we can search, for example, Rolldown, and we will find down here the node polyfills plugin for Rolldown, which brings node polyfills into your bundle as needed. You can find the registry under registry.vite.dev, and it's also linked from the new V8 docs and the Rolldown docs. So check it out. Vitest. The latest Vitest 4.1 beta brings changes to the Vitest UI, and they are all about speed, or to find the slow culprits in your test suites. The dashboard now not only has the passed, failed and total amount of tests, but also the slow ones. And there is a filter over here that just shows the slow tests. So no worries, no digging through the thousands of tests you might have to find the slow ones. And also you can sort them now as well if necessary. So that's one more reason why one should use Vitest UI. And I wonder, do you use it or not? Let me know. Rolldown. The February Rolldown highlight is actually about TS-Down, the elegant library bundler on top of Rolldown, because it added experimental support for single executables that can be created based on Node.js SEA support. That means you need Node.js version 25 and later. If you don't have that, it won't work. But other than that, the only thing you have to do is run your build command as before and use the --x flag for executables and you're good to go. You can even configure multi-target and cross-platform executables that can be generated, but that's all in the docs that are also linked below as usual. So for now, we got our CLI generated, and yes, with almost 129 megabytes, it's quite big because it will bundle a lot of things that this simple CLI might not need, but another Node application do need. And now we can just run this index, the file that has been generated, is executable, and we see our CLI here, and we can run hello test, and we get hello test or hello everyone, and we get the results. So of course, for this small CLI, you probably don't want to do that, but if you have a big Node.js application that you want to ship somewhere, now it's possible to put it all in a single executable. Oxlint. As some of you might already know, Oxlint is doing type-aware linting under the hood by calling another library called tsgolint, which is basically using the newest tsgo version, does some things on top so we can actually get the API information that we need, and then implements rules, all based in Go. And this tsgolint now added 12 more type-aware rules, bringing it to a total of 59 out of 61 implemented rules from TypeScript ESLint. Only naming convention and preferred structuring are missing out. And that means for everyone using Oxlint together with type-aware linting, which you should, you have a few more rules at your disposal now. Some of them are also a nursery, so they are still being fully evaluated and tested. Please try them out, give us feedback as usual. But so far we've got great results and good feedback here. And it's only a matter of time until we get to the magic 61 out of 61 and all the type-aware linting rules are ready. So if you haven't used type-aware linting yet, then I wonder, why not? Let me know. Oxfmt. End of February, it finally happened. Less than 3 months after the alpha release of Oxfmt, the Oxfmt beta is officially available. One of the great goals of the Oxfmt beta was the 100% conformance with Prettier in terms of JavaScript and TypeScript formatting. So no weird diffs when you switch from one tool to the other with our migration command. Of course, if you have different config settings, then you might get them. But the good part is that you can migrate first and then tweak the config, change the printed, etc., etc. An important note is that This beta is just a milestone and there's way more to come, leaving room for opinionated options, more configuration, and of course we still have a few features we want to stabilize, even though quite some got stabilized in the beta already, like import sorting, Tailwind CSS, class support, etc, etc. Oh, and before I forget, yes, supporting prettier plugins via Ox format is still on the roadmap for 1.0. So fans that are waiting, for example, for Svelte support or Astro support, because they are prettier plugins for prettier, don't worry. I know it will take a bit, and maybe even before 1.0, but we are all awaiting this as eagerly as you are. Community. Astro is rewriting their compiler in Rust, and not just because rewriting in Rust is a fancy thing right now. No, it has actual practical reason. In an RFC, the reasons are mentioned here, for example, that the current code base of the Go compiler is difficult to get into, finding someone who is doing the whole thing in Go and maintaining it didn't work out so far, and also it has a couple of issues. And given that some Astro team members are already well versed in Rust, for example, biomaintainer Emmanuel, down here, that seems like a good fit. And same for Princess U, aka Erika, she is also quite a bit involved in that and working on the compiler right now. This is actually available as an experimental option in Astro already, and the codebase is here, heavily using NaPRS for native API bindings and OXC under the hood, which has been a bit tweaked to make sure that it meets Astro's needs. This is definitely an interesting project, and I hope people try it out already and give feedback. I'm curious to hear how the new Rust compiler will perform versus the old Go compiler, and if there will be less issues and hopefully more maintenance. Community. In February, Schema Benchmarks got released, which is a website that compares different schema libraries, think of Zod, Valibot, Archetype, and you name it, for different criteria. For example, bundle size with and without minification, but with tree shaking, different runtime benchmarks for validation, for parsing, and how they treat standard schema, etc, etc. Besides the fact that they use Rolldown for the bundle size comparison to give everybody a level playing field with a modern bundler, they also have a lot of DX and productivity parts, like how easily it is to find a stack trace. And as I said before, runtime comparison, which is extremely important to not add too much overhead to your application. All in all, a very helpful project created by Eskimo Joe, and next time you choose your schema library, definitely have a look at schema benchmarks before that. The end? Yes, this is almost the end of this monthly recap highlight video. Of course, not all the news from the blog post would fit into a video of this length, so definitely make sure to read the whole post. It is really worth it. And also subscribe to the newsletter so you get them straight in your inbox and don't miss any news. And the last announcement for everybody that's still on there, don't forget to tune in on Friday, March 13th, where Avenue himself will reveal a few more things. Keep your eyes peeled and see you online.